Right, Math 10-3, Chapter 1, Unit Pricing and Currency Exchange. So this chapter we're talking proportional reasoning, unit pricing, sales, so certain percents off or markups when we're adding percents, and also currency exchanges. So say converting between Canadian dollars and American dollars or Mexican pesos and so forth. So let's jump right into it. So proportional reasoning. This is going to be the baseline, the building blocks really of a lot of the concepts that we're looking at in this course, but especially this chapter. So a ratio compares two numbers that are measured in the same units. So it doesn't really matter what the units are as long as the units are the same. So a ratio can be written in several ways. So we could do it with a colon, say 10 to 20. That's how we read it. 10 colon 20 can also be written as a fraction, 10 over 20, or in how we like to provide an answer reduced to lowest terms. So that would be 1 to 2 or 1 over 2. All right, and again, we do want to reduce ratios before we work with them, right? Smaller numbers are easier to work with and keep track of, and easier is better. Okay, another definition here is just an equivalent statement. So when I reduce 10 to 20 to 1 to 2, those are equivalent statements. They are the same. They are equal for equivalent. They are equal statements. Okay, so let's practice looking with proportions. Okay, so you need to mix a certain shade of paint. The proportion needed is 3 parts blue to 1 part green. We're going to write this as a ratio. Okay, so I'm going to go blue to green. I'll write the whole word, blue to green. So I need 3 parts of blue. So 3 colon to 1 part green. So 3 to 1. Now again, I don't know the unit, so it's just a part, but it's equal. If I'm adding 3 cups of blue, I need 1 cup of green. The units need to be equal. So how many parts of paint do I need in total? Well, I need to add 3 parts of blue. Then I need to add 1 part of green. So I need 4 parts in total. All right, awesome. So let's look at a chainsaw. So my chainsaw has a 2-stroke engine, which means you need to mix gasoline and oil together for it to run properly. All right, the ratio of gasoline to oil that is needed is 40 parts of gasoline to 1 part of oil. Okay, so the chainsaw's fuel can hold 8 liters of gasoline. How much oil should be added? Okay, so I need to do 40. Let's just go gas to oil. So I need 40 to 1. Now remember, I can also write this ratio as 40 over 1. Okay, that's the ratio that I need. But the fuel can only hold 8 liters of gasoline. All right, so again, my gas to oil needs to be 8 to something, right? That's my how much oil. That's my unknown. That's what I need to find. And the gas to oil, again, as the ratio with the colons, but again, it might be easier if we start looking at it as a fraction, 8 over x. Now I need these to be equivalent statements. That means I need them to be equal. If If they're equal, the ratio holds, and I am good to go. So I need to find which value for x for the oil is going to have this fraction equal this fraction. Now to do that, I'll work over here now. 40 over 1 is going to equal 8 over x. So there are different ways I can solve this fraction here, but I'm going to do cross multiplication. Now cross multiplication works every single time. That's why I like doing it this way. So to do that, I'm going to multiply 40 times x, so that's 40x, and I'm going to multiply equals 8 times 1. All right, that's why it's called cross multiplication. We make a cross. So I have 40x equals 8. I need to find what x is. So I need to solve this linear system, this one-step equation. So I have 40 times x. Whenever I'm solving, I need to do the opposite of what is happening here. So this is 40 times x. That means I have to divide by 40 because division is the opposite of multiplication. That's how I get rid of that 40. It's going to cancel out. But I can't just do it on this side. I have to do it on this side too. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So my x, my amount of oil, is going to be 8 divided by 40, which is 0.2. Okay, so that's the math of it, but I should answer the question. Right? So the question here, how much oil should be added? I should add 0.2, well 0.2 what? Liters of gasoline. No, sorry. Liters of oil. There you go. So I've shown my work, found an answer, but then also writ out the answer to my question. Okay, let's see. I got a few more examples here as well. So Tom and Susan make $180 from holding a garage sale. Because Tom contributed fewer items to the sale, the money is divided between Tom and Susan in the ratio of 1 to 2. How much money will each person receive? Okay, so this is a bit of an interesting question. I like it. So Tom to Susan. All right, so this is Tom to Susan is going to be 1 to 2. Okay, so that means that Susan is going to get twice as much as Tom gets from this garage sale. So if we think back to the paint, how many parts are between these two people? If Tom gets 1 part and Susan gets 2 parts, that means there are 3 parts total. Right, 1 plus 2, that's where I get my 3. There are 3 parts total. So I need to split up this $180 into 3 parts. And I will give 1 of those parts to Tom and 2 of those parts to Susan. So I'm going to look at my $180 and I'm going to divide it by 3. Right? I need to find out how much is going to be in 1 part. And 180 divided by 3 is $60. So that means that each part is $60. So Tom will get 1 times $60, which is just $60. And Susan will get 2 times $60 because she gets 2 parts. So she will get $120. And let's confirm, because these two numbers, when we add them up, should give us $180. And indeed, it does. 60 plus 120 is $80. So those are the two types of questions that I'm going to ask you about ratios. So this one here, we know what the ratio is, right? We are given the 40-to-1 ratio, and I need to find out a missing piece of information. This question we just did, I am going to give you a ratio, right, 1 to 2, and a total amount, and ask you sort of how much for each person or for each piece of the ratio. Okay, so I have one more example, and it's very similar, but instead of a ratio, it is a rate. And a rate is a ratio, but it has different units. That's the only difference, is it's not the same unit. So our common rates are speed, right? You're going 80 kilometers an hour, right? Kilometers an hour are different units. Price of meat in a deli, right? We're going to look at this a fair bit later on, right? It might be $1.69 per 100 grams, right? We've got dollars and grams. So we have different units, but it is still a ratio. We can still work with it, very similar to how we did these other questions. Okay, so let's look at this example. So the amount of fuel consumed by a vehicle when it is driven 100 kilometers is called the rate of fuel consumption. So write a rate statement that shows a car uses 6.3 liters of gas for every 100 kilometers driven. Okay, so this is just writing the statement. So it is going to use 6.3 liters for every, right, per 100 kilometers. So that's all we would write here. We're just writing the statement. There's 6.3 liters for every 100 kilometers. Okay, and this last example, if you earn $150 in 12 hours, how much will you earn if you work for 40 hours? All right, so I'm getting $150 per 12 hours. And I want to know how much money, right, X, my question mark, dollars, will I get in 40 hours? So this question, there is a lot of different ways we can do it. Right now, though, we've been working on ratios and rates, so I'm going to do it that way, but see if you can think of a different way that we can do this, and we'll look at that other way in just a couple of lessons, really. It's coming right up. But if you can do that now your other way, you certainly are welcome to as well. But I'm going to show you the right way for this video. Right, so the right way, not the right, the rate and ratio is, we have two ratios here, right? So I can make them as a fraction, $150 over 12 hours. And I can, write this, X dollars over 40 hours. And now assuming there is no bonuses right now, he hasn't gotten overtime yet, these should be equal. They should be equal statements. You should be making the same per hour. So I can solve this as my equivalent fractions. So I have 150 over 12 equals X over 40. So I've removed my units right now. I find it's a little bit more streamlined when I'm actually doing the math work. and I am going to cross multiply. Right now, again, yes, there are different ways you can do this, and yes, I am 100% okay if you do it a different way, as long as you're showing your work and, of course, still finding the correct answer. So I have 12 times x and 150 times 40, 6,000. All right, and now I need to solve for what x is. I have 12 times x, so I need to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I'd get 6,000 divided by 12, which would give me 500. All right, so bringing that back into the question, how much will you earn if you work 40 hours? Right? If you work 40 hours, you would earn how much? Remember your units now, $500. All right, and that is our first lesson. That is proportional reasoning, working with rates and ratios. So now I have some practice questions for you to work on, then we'll check back in together shortly. And if you're having questions, please let me know. Otherwise, it's time to get to work.